Hi, I'm going to demonstrate my own recipe for a crisp meat burrito. I came up with this after many years of eating at Senior Froggies and wanting to be able to make those same things for less than $3 a burrito. So I started off with ground beef, and this doesn't look that great, but I browned the meat with pretty much anything you want spice-wise. Cumin is a real common spice with Mexican food, at least American Mexican. Put onions. I didn't have any onions this time. I put a lot of garlic in there, some basil, salt and pepper. I like it spicy, but my family doesn't, so I keep it just lots of salt. But you could add spice. Chili powder is a great ingredient for that. Um, Jalapenos would be really good. So, you brown the meat, you mix all that up, make sure you dice everything real fine. And then, this is the key for crisp meat burritos because you don't want the filling to fall out. You mix about, I don't know, I probably put 2 tablespoons worth of cornstarch in a bowl with about a cup worth of water. Mix that up. Make sure your meat is browned and ready, and then you dump that cornstarch liquid into the pan, stir it up quickly, and it will solidify a lot of that meat into kind of a gelatin, not gelatin, but kind of a gravy-ish substance. You want it to be thick so that it maintains its shape when it's in the burrito and doesn't let stuff fall out into the oil. You get to that point and you've solidified this stuff, so it's kind of just, it looks like dog food. It actually tastes really good. Make sure the flavor of the meat's the way you want it. Prepare your oil. This is the first time I'm using this electric skillet. My wife said to get it at 375. It's nice to be able to regulate it. I'd been doing it cold turkey in a pot. Okay, it's almost ready. I'm making burritos right now. Anyway, you want to be able to regulate the heat. It's very easy to scorch oil and get it to the point where it's at a flash point, which is bad news because it will start smoking, and then, in other words, that oil becomes vaporized, and vaporized oil is extremely flammable. So you want to have baking soda available to put out a fire, or a fire extinguisher. You never want to use water to put out an oil fire. It'll just spread the oil. I have worked many years in commercial roofing using solvent-based and oil-based products that catch on fire, and I've had to put fires out, and it's not fun. So don't mess around, and it will burn the crap out of you. So then you take your choice of tortilla. I would prefer a white flour tortilla, but in this case my family has food intolerances, so we use these Ezekiel 4-9 whole grain sprouted wheat tortillas. Just put about that much meat in there, and then in a typical taco you would roll on the edges, but if you notice, at least at Senior Froggies, they do a crisp meat burrito, and it's just a tube. So you get it so it's tubed out. I'm doing this with one hand because I'm holding my phone. But you roll it up like that in preparation. You've got a nice tube. You could probably fit more meat in there but I'm just doing it this way for demonstration. So I've got my prepped burritos, and I'm going to do a test on my oil to see if it's actually going to sizzle. It is. If you notice, that sizzle means the oil's good and hot. I have tried this other ways, and if your oil's too cool, what tends to happen is you get an oversaturation of oil into your burrito, and then they still crispify over time, but then they're really greasy feeling when you eat them. So if you can get it as hot as possible without burning the oil, you're better off. And I'm not kidding here. I had it so hot at one point I could literally count to 4 with the burrito in the oil, and it was dark brown. So that's probably too hot. I'm thinking, this is still an experimental phase for me, but I'm thinking you want to be able to count to 10 probably. Sorry about our mess. The other key thing you're going to want to have something to grab your burritos with. I think in a perfect world I'd have a perfectly designed metal basket so I could submerge them like you would see at a French fry joint. I have tongs. So I'm going to grab one of my burritos and watch what happens. You want to make sure you keep the flap side down initially, and then kind of see, is this thing, it's already starting to harden, so it's maintaining its shape. This is probably a little cooler than I'd like it. I like it to really, this is probably going to absorb more oil than I want it to, such is life. But if it's a little bit hotter, you'll get it to turn, you want it to turn golden brown and not lose too many things like that, because then it makes problems. You can see that oil's hot. It's going to make a mess doing it this way. I don't have a fryer, but that's the way this goes. Yeah, I would like my oil hotter because it's not browning this as quickly as I'd like, but it's working. So I take my burrito out, kind of drain some of that oil, tip it one way, tip it the other, and we put it back here to compare. Definitely darker, and it's actually relatively hard. There's soft, there's hard. You get your oil a little hotter, count to 10, and that thing will be crispy, which coined the phrase crispy meat burrito. You could also use beans as a filler. I think the problem I had with beans was more of the filling came out in the oil and made more mess. The more stuff you get in the oil, the more it starts to smoke. And if you do a whole big batch of this, it's going to start smoking a lot, because the leftovers are just going to continue to cook and burn. Anyway, I think I'm going to crank this up all the way. And that's how you make crisp meat burritos the Big Ed style. So experiment at your leisure. Be careful, because you can burn yourself and you can mess things up and start fires. Always be safe. Coming to you live from Big Ed's Kitchen. Thanks.